On January 7, 2009, a letter arrived. Not from a whistleblower, not from a regulator, not from an investigative journalist. It came from the man himself, Ramalinga Raju, founder, chairman, and face of Satyam Computer Services, one of India's most celebrated tech companies, sat down and wrote a confession. Not because he got caught, because, in his own words, he couldn't hold it any longer. It was like riding a tiger, not knowing how to get off without being eaten. What followed was the largest corporate fraud in Indian history. $1.5 billion. Gone. Fabricated. Never existed. To understand what Satyam became, you need to understand what India was becoming. 1991. India opens its economy. A generation of engineers, brilliant, ambitious, hungry, suddenly have a global stage. Infosys, Wipro, TCS, these names are becoming legends. And in 1987, from the city of Hyderabad, a farmer's son named Ramalinga Raju starts his own company. He calls it Satyam. In Sanskrit, it means truth. Through the 90s and into the 2000s, Satyam explodes. 67 countries, Fortune 500 clients, listed on the New York Stock Exchange. By 2008, 53,000 employees, valued at over $2 billion. Raju wins the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award. From the outside, this is Indian capitalism at its finest. But inside the numbers, something had been wrong for a long time. Here's the thing about fraud. Almost nobody starts out planning to commit it. They start by rounding up, smoothing over a bad quarter, buying a little time. And then they're in too deep to turn back. For at least 7 years, Satyam's books had been manipulated. The mechanics were staggering in their scale and their simplicity. Cash balances were invented. Over $1 billion shown in bank accounts. That cash didn't exist. The statements were fabricated. The auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers, signed off anyway, year after year. Revenues were inflated, liabilities hidden. But why would a man running a genuinely successful company need to do this? Because in the high-growth tech economy of the early 2000s, investor expectations were brutal. Markets didn't just want growth, they wanted consistent, impressive, predictable growth. Miss a quarter and your stock drops. Miss 3 and you're gone. So Raju managed the numbers the way some leaders manage their teams, not by telling the truth, but by telling people what they needed to hear. Except the truth compounds, like interest on a debt you can't pay. By late 2008, the gap between what Satyam reported and what it actually earned grew to $1.5 billion, with no way out. That's when Raju tried the Maytas plan. In December 2008, Satyam announced it would acquire 2 real estate companies for $1.6 billion. Their names? Maytas Infrastructure, Maytas Properties. Maytas. Spell it backwards. Satyam. Both companies were controlled by Raju's family. The plan? Use the acquisition to funnel real cash into the books, plug the hole before anyone noticed it existed. The market saw through it immediately. Satyam's stock dropped 55% in a single day. The board was forced to cancel the deal within hours. Raju had tried to ride the tiger one last time, and the tiger threw him. 23 days later, he wrote the letter. The fallout was immediate and far-reaching. The Indian government moved fast. The board was replaced. Raju was arrested. PricewaterhouseCoopers had its audit partners arrested and banned from auditing Indian-listed companies for 2 years. But Satyam, the company, the 53,000 jobs, survived. Tech Mahindra stepped in, acquired it, rebranded it. Today, it operates as Mahindra, still alive, carrying the ghost of what it once was. Raju was eventually convicted in 2015, sentenced to 7 years. He appealed, was later granted bail on health grounds. As of last reports, he's a free man, living quietly in Hyderabad. The Indian government responded with sweeping governance reforms, mandatory auditor rotation, stricter board independence rules, an overhaul of the Companies Act in 2013, all in Satyam's shadow. Every few years, we discover someone built something enormous on a lie. Enron, WorldCom, Theranos, FTX, and Satyam. And every time, people ask, how did no one see it? The answer is uncomfortable because it's never just one person. It's the investors who wanted to believe the growth story, the auditors who asked questions designed to be answered a certain way, the regulators who were too slow, the system that rewards appearing to succeed more than actually succeeding. Raju didn't invent those pressures, he gave into them, and then he couldn't stop. The tiger metaphor works because it removes the cartoon villain. A tiger isn't evil, it just is. And once you're on it, the physics take over. That's the most frightening thing about fraud. It doesn't require monsters. It emerges, gradually, from ordinary human weakness, fear, pride, desperation, habit, and then becomes its own momentum. The lesson isn't just don't commit fraud. That's obvious. The lesson is notice the first compromise, because every tiger starts as a kitten. And once it grows big enough, once your survival depends on its momentum, getting off isn't just painful, it's impossible. Satyam means truth. And perhaps that's the most painful irony of all.